Okay, good evening. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for the Village of Vernon Hills. We need to start with a roll call.
Chairman Morse.
Here.
Mr. Ballou.
Present.
Ms. Cotton.
Here.
Mr. Hesner.
Here.
Mr. Heidner.
Here.
Ms. Zhao.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, we have two public hearings this evening.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gorog. He's not here. Sorry.
Okay, but we still have a quorum.
Exactly.
Okay, we have two public hearings this evening. First is case 12-07, which is an application filed by Neil Bryson requesting a special use permit to allow an arcade for electronic games called Skill Shots Pinball to operate on property within the B1 Business District located at 1302 South Milwaukee Avenue, which is the southwest corner of Milwaukee Avenue and Route 45. Okay, who's going to speak for the petitioner this evening?
Hi, my name is Jeff Hooper. I apologize. My partner, Neil Bryson, who's the resident of Vernon Hills, is unavoidably not here. He's on a business trip in London.
Oh, good for him. Okay. Anyone else going to speak on this petition?
Just
brought
myself.
someone? Okay. Since this is a public hearing, we ask that you raise your right hand and swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before this commission of the Village of Vernon Hills shall be the truth.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The only true rule we have is you need to speak in a microphone.
Yes, sir.
Better. Okay.
Our intention is to open a arcade, a pinball arcade, a very special place catering to an older crowd of people that had grew up playing pinball and are looking for a place in the area to come where there's more than a couple of machines to play. We are trying to make this a special place. I myself grew up playing, my partner grew up playing, and we have nowhere to play. Chicago is a mecca for pinball. Williams, Gottlieb, Midway, many of the old manufacturers are here. Stern Pinball is the only company out there making machines now, but again, there's no place to really play around here. So our goal is just to create a special place for people that are fanatics about the game and can come in and have a place to play and be a club member and have all the best machines and the newest releases, and that's our goal.
Okay. You want to tell us a little bit about your business or what you plan on doing?
Mainly, we're going to be a member-based organization. We're not going to be coin-operated in any way. We'll mostly do credit card swipes where people come in and they're members, and they pay a yearly fee, and they have open play. None of the machines will accept quarters. We will have a through-the-door crowd, and they will pay an hourly fee to play or a daily fee to play, but at no time will we accept money into the machine. Our goal is to attract fellas like me in their 40s that are fanatics and just want to play. There's a surprising number of people in Chicago that are tournament players, and we want to attract that crowd as well, and those are probably our biggest goals, to attract that, and then families within the area. That's the model we're hoping to be able to run with.
You listed a schedule in one of your submissions, and on 2 days, Friday and Saturday, it simply says to close. What is close?
Consistently, we're looking at 11 o'clock for every night. We want to hear what the village recommends, and we want to see what is compliant from your perspective. But 11 o'clock is generally the time we'd be looking to close. We won't be open on Monday or Tuesday. My partner and I are both keeping our real jobs, our day jobs. We'll open on Wednesdays for the members only. Thursday and Friday, we'll try to attract new people in that have maybe not played the game and just want to come in for an hour. And then on Sundays, we'll have additional time for the member-only crowd.
And our staff submission indicated that you're prepared to discuss the question of sound propagation both within and between the tenant spaces?
Yes, sir. As far as noise is concerned, the risks, we do have some controls in place. We only share one wall with the tenant. We're the outside unit, so we really have, from an internal standpoint, only one concern. I went and I spoke with that person. We do know that there's concrete between these walls, so we're at least starting with a good foundation there. There's other things we can do. These machines are you're capable of lowering the volume. There's certain machines that we won't put on that wall as a risk. And then there's other things we can do, like putting in a fan system or keeping the fans running. There's other things that we've discussed, but if I may, I've become fairly good friends with Prem along the way, who runs that shop, and trying to cooperate and talk to him about how we can make it work, being neighbors. I have a letter here that he signed, if I may bring it up, just sort of hopefully stating the cooperation we want to have. We want to be a good neighbor, and we don't want to disturb him. And so we go into it knowing that if there is an issue with the noise, the internal noise, that at least we have a spirit of cooperation, and we'll try to make improvements, be it some kind of soundproofing with drywall or other mechanism.
When you said concrete, is that the leftover concrete from when it was an MRI facility?
Yes, sir.
I don't know what's gonna get through there.
Okay, anybody else? What is the business that's next door?
It's the Easy Mart Food Pantry.
Yeah. Right.
External noise, you,
What's,
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I see that you provided what are referred to as section 18.3 criteria that we have in our packet. I also note that there were legal notices sent to the surrounding property owners, and we didn't receive any responses from the village.
correct.
Okay, to the extent that this is a public hearing, does anyone from the public wish to speak with regard to this? Yes, sir. You need to come up, though. Wait, no. Wait, remember, the only rule we have is you speak in a microphone. So,
Oh,
could you
come on up.
please?
My name is Rob Rush. I live at the old farmhouse on the other side of the alley. And I welcome the neighbors. And when you were just talking about noise levels and things like that, I understand through a conversation with that gentleman from the EZ Mart that there are other locations already in existence of these pinball.
You can use the microphone.
Here's another.
You can take the microphone with you and then
okay,
talk.
I'm gonna take the mic. We don't have any other locations. This is our first step up to the plate, but there are other businesses that have the same model. There's one in Brookfield, Illinois, the Galloping Ghost, where they have a member-based group of people that come in and participate, but this will be our first time, sir.
You want
Wait, you need to turn it, wait,
Make sure it's turned on.
there's an on-off switch on it? There should be.
Hello?
Yes.
Thank you. I was wanting to see what an operation like this entailed. And of course, we have the alley between you and us. And when I heard that it would be staying open till 11, then I just wondered, I think people would have to walk through that alley to get to the front door, or is there changes about where the back door becomes a front door, or things like that?
I know I can answer that question. From dealing with Polly, I'm sure you know, she is the building owner. We have full access with the back door, and we actually intend to try to utilize that for safety, just because that parking is a little bit tricky at the front. There's a handicap entrance there, and it just seems like it might be better to keep people out of that alley. I mean, it is what it is. That alley is a little tricky. So we're going to encourage people to come through that back entrance, which, again, I understand from the landlord is legal and acceptable.
in front.
All right, that's all I was concerned about, and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. This is your proposed plan?
Yes, sir.
Help us out. The only door appears to be on the front.
If I may, circle. There is a door. We have limited drawing skills here, smart draw. There's a door right here, and it's a wide door that'll help us get the machines in. And then it does have the handicap ramp. So there is a door there, I apologize.
Where,
And the door would be right here, that's the front entrance. Right here. That right there, that's the back entrance, right there.
okay, and then, so the store next door is the frontage here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, back here.
Okay.
So your front door is actually going to face Route 45
Yes, sir,
through what was the old MRI front door.
correct.
You're not moving that door or anything like
We're
that?
not moving that door at all. I'm
Got it.
sure we'll still have people coming in, but we'll have our members, they'll get used to the culture of coming in that back door and parking and life being simple for them.
So on this drawing here, what's the front door?
The front door is right here, and the back door is right here. You have an entryway here, and then we share that wall. That's the only wall we share. Is,
And then this
wall right here.
this is the front of the other store next door.
Yes, sir. It enters like this because they actually have a little, I don't know what you would call it, a first door. You walk in, and then you walk in the second.
An airlock.
Oh, so,
Thank you, Errol.
so this is 45, not this.
Yes.
This.
Correct.
Oh, so it's like an indent?
This door
Oh,
actually
got it.
faces Milwaukee.
So it's it's like the building.
Got
is.
it, got it.
You would say you'd walk in this way and then make a right into the
Got it.
building, and this is Milwaukee Avenue.
So you're entering your space at the farthest east
What's
point.
45?
The farthest east point, correct, in the front.
Okay. I have never been, I don't know whether this is good or bad, in the back of this center. Is that back lot, is it lit,
Is it lit?
right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I think there are wall packs along the back sides of the building. I don't think there's any light poles in the lot. I think they're wall packs.
I think you're right,
Right.
correct.
Are there any issues with the police using a lot that's not visible from the street?
No, because it does have access all the way around the building. So, will they be able to see it directly off of Route 45? Not as well, but they can definitely see it off of Milwaukee.
Doesn't this part of the building block it?
No, there's unfortunately, the aerial doesn't go, but the parking lot extends all the way out to Milwaukee.
Here.
Correct. And it's actually a little bit wider. There's actually a building right here.
Right.
So,
There's a significant amount of parking in the back, and
Yeah.
to make it easier for people to walk in.
right.
Would you have signage then on the back entrance as well?
That's a very good question. We would, if we were, we would try to probably duplicate something that we have in the front. We're not going to make any adjustments to the sign. Mechanically, we'll just put in our placard, if you will, in the front. In the back, I'm not sure if we would need it. If it would be a requirement of some type, we would follow that requirement.
The signage that they could put on that back would be limited in size, very limited, because again, it's not on a frontage. So, it'd likely be an identification placard and the like. I mean, I think the key element here would be making sure there's adequate lighting above the door and everything. There's also a ramp that goes up into the back, and the question would be is, does that ramp stay or not going forward? That'll be some things that you'll need to talk with the owner about. I mean, from a code standpoint, it's not a problem.
We want
So,
the ramp.
yeah.
It'll make it a lot easier getting those machines in and out.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything else from the public with respect to this request? No? Okay. Okay, so at this point, we'll close the public hearing section of this. Any comments from the commission or any other questions? Okay. As you may or may not know, on this commission, we have a standing motion to recommend approval. So this evening's motion would be to recommend approval of a special use permit to allow an arcade for electronic games called Skill Shots Pinball at 1302 South Milwaukee Avenue, subject to compliance with all ordinance and standards of the village. And I think additionally this evening you said that there would be no coin-operated play.
Yes, sir.
And secondly, you're going to work with the village and the ownership regarding the ramp and lighting at that rear entrance.
We
As
will
two
do so.
additional conditions. Okay, anything else, anyone? And we need a second?
Well,
Second.
I just had an additional question. If, John, if they were successful in this business and decided to extend hours, is that just up to the village board to then extend them?
Well, again, they could, I mean, they're not serving alcohol, so they're not limited by hours. They could go 24 hours.
So that's
literally.
not a condition of
Correct.
special use?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else?
My suggestion is that the back door is properly identified so that people, if they're looking around, they don't have to search too hard to find the proper entrance to the back door.
That's a good point.
Who seconded it? Jerry?
Jerry?
Jerry, if we add then as part of the second condition, the ramp lighting and identification of the back door?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? And we need a roll call.
Mr. Baloo?
Yes.
Ms. Cotton?
Yes.
Mr. Hesner?
Yes.
Mr. Heidner?
Yes.
Ms. Zhao?
Yes.
Mr. Gorod?
Okay.
5-0. This will be forwarded on to the village board at their first meeting in June, it'll be June 5th. So you'll need, you and your partner or whomever's available will need to appear and be prepared to
On
answer
June 5th.
questions.
Thank you.
And I'll communicate with Neil on it, so,
Perfect.
Okay, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have case number 12-06, which is a petition filed by the Village of Vernon Hills to amend Appendix C of the Code of Ordinances. Specifically, there are 10 individual text amendments proposed to the zoning code. You need to say anything, Jeff?
You know what, I'll walk through real quick. A number of you, or a couple of you actually, have provided some additional corrections, apostrophes where they shouldn't be, et cetera, et cetera. So I appreciate that. The changes that you have in your packet tonight reflect the comments that were provided on March 18th. I would note that I did try to highlight the changes that we were proposing based on those comments at the last meeting. The first one would be with regards to restaurants, item I, the question about drive-ins. I think Commissioner Gorog raised the question about why not leave the drive-ins in, because it dealt with, possible uses such as a Sonic or a Super Dog or Dog and Suds, and the like, and that was a good comment. So the drive-in definition was left in, and we added a new definition for drive-through that helps clarify, a situation like a McDonald's or a Wendy's or something like that, or Portillo's, where it's just strictly a drive-through versus actually driving in and having a car hop come out and take your order and serve your food in your car. So, the next item, we went to fences. We provided some additional clarification on this. Basically, what this means is that if you're on a corner lot or a reverse corner lot and you want to put a fence in your front yard, the maximum size fence you can do is 4 feet, and it's got to be a picket fence. And with 50% open space on it, and that chain link or cyclone type fences are not permitted at all. So again, this clarifies, and honestly, the new definition in here represents how it's been interpreted for years, or misinterpreted, depending on how you look at it. So, the next item was the issue or the comments with regards to awning and canopy. We provided a clarification on both of those. One, a definition for awning, again, as you suggested, and then a definition for canopy, which is, the intent there is to clearly segregate it from the awning definition. Basically, the difference is that an awning is a permitted obstruction in the setback, wherein a canopy must meet the setback requirements. And again, canopies are typically, the gasoline islands, the larger extensions. For instance, Rust-Oleum was used as an example before they tore it off the front of the building. The canopy going into Philly G's, for instance, or the like, and so the intention here would be to meet the setback requirements. Under general regulations, we had a spelling correction there. It should read more than one industrial, commercial, or multi-dwelling, multiple dwelling instead of
This one,
on.
too. Is that right?
Let's see, the lot or tract shall not be encroached upon by any building, correct, yes, good catch. Let's see, if you go to item V, health clubs, health club and health and/or day spa, we added a couple words, improving physical, and we took out fitness and added wellness to that as you requested. And we did add the clarification in there for not-for-profit. And that should be actually a hyphen in there, private hyphen not-for-profit owned recreation buildings or, and then if you go to item W, again, there's a clarification under for amusements. Again, this was a cleanup from an approval for the whirly ball use, and what we found was that number 4, the language underneath there didn't make any sense, quite honestly. So what we did was we changed it to say alcohol may be provided subject to the receipt of the necessary permits and licenses. This covers both a whirly ball type, which is an adult type of facility, and a Chuck E. Cheese and the like. Again, both require special use permits, but again, you have the option of getting alcohol as a part of it too. So, and then finally, item Z, auto sales. Mike Adkinson, the building commissioner, and myself talked through this, and quite frankly, we need to do a little bit more research on this before we come back to it. We just weren't comfortable with what we were seeing and needed to look at a couple of real-world examples that for properties along Milwaukee primarily, where we think something like an automobile sales opportunity might exist. So we'll come back to you at some point in the future with additional language that might be added to the code. So with that, I can answer any questions, or we can open it up to public comment, and then close it and make a recommendation.
Any questions first? Jim?
Under the private and public and private schools, section B, we're essentially removing it from most of the districts R1, R2, R3, and R3A. But we're allowing it as special uses in some of the higher
Correct.
density ones. Why
That's
wouldn't we just have it as a special use in all of them?
Well, we need to offer a broad chance for schools to be developed in certain areas. So the R6 and R7, which are the multifamily districts, were felt to be appropriate, in addition to the PIB, which is where all schools are located right now. It just affords another opportunity for those types of schools to develop.
The neighborhood school.
Correct.
But effectively, we don't have any land to do that.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay, anything else?
Under section X, where we're talking about parking at a convalescent care center.
Yep.
Is that based on somebody else's ordinance?
We actually have applied this to the pathway development. So it's just, it's consistent with how we applied parking standards there. We also looked at a couple of other locations, and it was pretty consistent with what we had done with the Victory Center. So it's just a modification, and it's actually something that was missing. So
It says one space for each 2 employees plus 1 space per 4 dwelling units.
Right.
or room.
Right.
I think, because in a dwelling unit, you could have multiple people.
Correct.
In a room, you could have, who knows how many people you could make a room for.
True.
So I'm wondering if that's too variable.
Well, remember, most people in a convalescent care center don't drive.
Right,
So
but you're
we're-
going to require that they have,
For visitors and people who come to the facility. That's why you see one per every 4. It's actually fairly lenient. If you looked at, for instance, the Pathway building, one of the Pathway buildings where you had 100 units, and you'd only be talking about 25 spaces plus whatever employees would be there for a building that's probably 40,000 square feet, so pretty large.
Anything else?
and on section Y, where we're giving, public notice being given, we talk about doing it to the holder of the tax bill, or wherever the tax record is sent. We also mentioned that we would contact commercial tenants. What about residential tenants? Have we omitted them?
We have, yes, we have. What we've done is we've provided for an expanded area of notification for that, for a public hearing notice, but we would provide notice to the property owner, but not all the individual tenants, because it's been difficult, quite honestly, to get that information.
But in the case of a condominium, it would go to the property owner, which would be the owner of that condominium.
Correct. That's correct.
Unless they were renting it out.
Correct.
Then it would not go to the tenant of that.
That's
It would go
correct.
to the owner.
It would go to the owner, right.
Is that what we want to do?
It's pretty hard to get in touch with a bunch of people who live in apartments. And they're not gonna respond anyway. They're really not.
Depends upon what you were doing. Imagine.
It's true.
Well, if you were putting like a fireworks store where they were gonna do some report testing, maybe.
I just think if we're taking the step to notify commercial residents, tenants, that we would do so for residential tenants.
I think the one difference there is that you potentially could have a special use right next door to a commercial tenant, literally, like in this case, sharing a common wall versus an apartment complex where it's not likely you're going to have something like that occur within that residential property itself.
But say this gentleman who happened to speak tonight was a tenant and not an owner of the facility he was in. He would not have been notified.
He would have been as an adjacent property owner.
If he wasn't the owner, I'm saying.
Oh, no, you're
he was a
correct. The
tenant.
property owner, absolutely, the property owner would have been notified, and it would have been up to the property owner to notify his tenant.
But what's
That's
the publication requirement?
What is the publication?
Is there a
Within
publication,
250 feet.
is there a publication requirement too?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Newspaper, we post it, and then the mailings go out, so.
And one of the postings is at the property itself that it's subject to.
There is a sign typically, yes.
So to that extent, adjacent residential tenants would be on notice, both constructive through the publication as well as if they drive by their neighbor.
Correct, right. And we give a phone number and say, call us, because there's something going on.
Whereas with a commercial occupant, especially with a large commercial occupant, you may have a manager or something, but not actually.
Correct,
No one with true management authority for a large big box sits in these stores.
correct. That's
So
right.
we would give notice to their corporate offices.
No, we would notify the individual store itself. So,
So the tenancy is just the location, it's not who's the tenant on the lease?
It is the tenant on the lease, but again, the notification would go to that
That's fine.
space at, for instance,
Okay.
in the shopping center.
Okay.
So, that's why all the commercial folks along in Mrs. Darby's building got notification.
Right.
See, I think that's even above and beyond, you know, the tenants even in a retail center. But as John said, you know, the special use could be occurring literally, you know, within feet of whatever their space is. So I think that's probably right.
And it's really a blend. I mean, we've researched this over a number of ordinances and codes. I don't know what you've experienced in
Yeah,
the other
generally,
communities. I mean, we're making it a larger area of notification, and we're making it a little bit easier for the petitioner to do the notifications, or to provide us information for us to do the notification. So it's kind of a balancing act.
So where it says notice of proposed appeal variation, we're talking about zoning code variations there?
Correct.
So if you even have a residence that seeks a variance, it's also posted there by sign?
Should be, yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
then the neighbors are gonna see it that way?
Yep.
Okay.
So for this meeting tonight, there was a posting outside that building somewhere?
Right at the Route 45. In fact, the property owner called me because it was posted on the corner of the property, and her tenants were getting nervous about what was going on. So I told her, yeah, you can go ahead and move it down the strip a little bit, so.
Okay. I have a question about J, permitted obstructions and required rear yards. A fence is a permitted obstruction, correct?
Correct.
But we've said now that it cannot encroach into a recorded easement. So does that mean you cannot put your fence in your utility easement or your drainage easement? The way it's written? Mine is, but I guess I'm a higher conforming use.
We do allow fences within the easements.
Yes.
And, let's see here, let's go back to fences for a minute.
Which easement are you in?
On both, the back and the side.
We'll have code enforcement out to your house tomorrow,
Right.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm also up to the front property line of the old ordinance. The front of the house.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
Right. I don't think it addresses this.
Says, well, based on the illustration for the fences, they are permitted up to the property line, you know, for corner side yards.
Right.
And that's consistent with what we've done in the past. I don't think we've ever denied a fence to be located within an easement, nor do I think we will start doing that.
I guess I'm not concerned about the village denying it. I'm more concerned about someone comes in and wants to put a fence in the easement, and the neighbor says, you can't.
Right.
And then they come to the village and say, you can't prove it. So does there need to be an exception here? You know, permitted shall not encroach into a recorded easement or conservation. Well, I don't know about conservation area, but a recorded easement, you know, but not a fence. And I don't know what we do with conservation areas. I have no idea there.
Typically, they're not. But we don't have that many, so,
Right.
honestly.
So basically, if the neighbor says you can't, basically what you'd have to do is go apply for a variation and get approval to do it. That's basically it.
Presumably, yeah.
So that neighbor that I'm sure you cherish
Right.
would be costing you some money.
Not me personally, but yes, that's
Yes.
correct. Okay, well, John looks at that. My question about awnings, do these cover residential awnings, like those things we see where they go over your patio or your deck that roll out of the house?
Yes.
Is that can create any problems here? I guess it's no, but
Well, I mean, if it exceeds the encroachment requirements, yes, there will be a problem. You'll have to get a variation.
but
So
your patio or deck shouldn't
you're
encroach.
correct. That's
So-
right. So if you stay within the outlines of your patio, you should be fine.
One more. the fence question.
Fences are permitted in accordance with section 4.8, so that's in the rear yard, the following additional obstructions are permitted. And then 4683, fences are permitted in accordance with 4.8, and that,
We're amending 4.6.8.2.
yeah, right, and, right. Okay. All right, I'll keep looking.
Okay, anybody else while John looks? Anything?
Could, but it involves an answer from Joe.
This is edgier seat TV we're doing now.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you can have one shed, one playhouse, and one treehouse. That's a full backyard.
Yeah.
Can be done.
It's kind of like a George Thorogood song.
And then you have your detached garage back there too.
That's right. And your awning over your back and patio.
Under fence section 4.8, 4.8.2 F, all fences except those listed below shall be constructed as or near the as practical, but not more than 12 inches from the property line. And then it talks about, you know, privacy fences, dog runs, decorative.
Certainly that implies you can put it there, but
Correct.
then we've got a specific prohibition of putting it in that
You know,
easement.
Okay, you know what, why don't you ask me the other questions real quick and let me,
Okay.
Back to my, back to the public notice. How long is the sign posted?
typically it's 15 days prior to. It's the same as the notification requirements, minimum 15, max 30.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Darn.
Are you trying to do something?
Could we just say additionally, other than fences under, what was it, 4.8? The permitted obstruction shall not encroach into a recorded easement or conservation area?
Well, but everybody has a 5-foot. You know what? Let's do this. Let's pull this. We will pull item J out of here and we'll come back to you. We'll just renotice it and come back to you.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't catch it till this afternoon.
That's all right.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, this is a public hearing. We need to see if anyone from the public would like to speak with regard to the petition filed by the Village of Vernon Hills to amend the zoning ordinance. Okay. Apparently, no one is rushing to the podium, so we can close the public hearing portion. Any other comments? Anyone? Then pursuant to our standing motion, we would have a standing motion to approve the request by the Village of Vernon Hills to amend Appendix C to the Code of Ordinances, specifically the items referenced in the agenda, but not item
J.
J regarding fences, which would be pulled from it. We need a second for that.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to clarify, the changes would be in relation to those listed in the May 11th memo from myself to the commission, excluding item J,
Okay.
and with those
Edits?
Scribner errors in here.
Okay. All right. Can we have a second for that? Any discussion? Okay. It was, Jerry. Okay. Then we need a roll call.
Ms. Zhao,
Yes.
Mr. Hesner,
Yes.
Mr. Heidner,
Yes.
Ms. Cotton,
Yes.
Mr. Baloo,
Yes.
Mr. Gorog. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We'll bring that back, the fence one back. We've got several other things that we're gonna need to do anyway, so, but we'll get a clarification on that and, have something back to you.
We'll take 5 out of order, which are the approval of the minutes from March 14th, 2012. Any comments to those minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Okay, we need a second. Okay, we do that by acclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, those are approved. Then we have the approval of the minutes from the April 18, 2012 meeting. Any comments on those? Okay, we have standing motion to approve. We need a second.
Second.
Any discussion? We'll do that by acclamation. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those are approved. Then we'll go back to discussion, and I think Wendy would like to have the floor.
It's been 2 short years since I've been with the commission, but I'm moving now, so with that, that means I'm no longer a resident of Vernon Hills and can no longer serve on the commission. So I just wanted to thank all of you for welcoming me into the commission. It's been a privilege to work with all of you, and it's obvious that you care a lot about the village and the people that live here. So I wish you all the best, and I'll probably be back here every weekend shopping, so hopefully I will see you all around the village.
Okay.
Thanks, Wendy. We appreciate everything that you've done.
No, thank you very much. Anything else we need to add?
With regards to that, for residents watching at home, keep an eye on the website. We'll be posting the position notice or opening, and we'll ask for people if they're interested to submit a letter to the village manager, Michael Allison, and then we'll figure out the procedure from there. So it is the appointment by the village president with concurrence by the board. So couple other things. We're expecting to see plans from Westfield by the end of next week, and hopefully we'll be moving forward with regards to that soon. There's a number of other things that are still churning out there. I think, as I told you, Loyola at Cunha Museum and Gardens is looking at a residential project. Have not seen any plans as of yet from them, so we're kind of in a wait-and-see mode. With regards to the Kelly's Camp residential development, we're waiting on the results of a traffic study, a full traffic study that they are doing, and then we will be back, we'll be with our traffic consultant to review the numbers, and then we'll be back before the board to request direction. There is also a proposal for reconstruction and rehabilitation of the gas station at Ring Road and Route 60 right in front of the former Dominic's location. They appeared before the board for concept presentation, and they were told to go rework their architecture. So you all will see them. I would imagine you'll see them in about 60 days or so. So that'll be a good thing to get completed. Old Navy is rapidly finishing their project there in River Tree. We still don't have anything or reuse for the former Blockbuster Verizon building. So I think you'll see Chicago Sports continue operating on a temporary basis there. Mariano's is going to expand their parking lot again. They're taking 2 more lots, and they're going to be expanding the parking towards the pond. So we'll be seeing a site plan revision on that probably within about 60 days.
Can they expand their deli counter a little? It's a little crowded.
we'll ask him about that, so. Other than that, I'm sorry, good news for you all. Thank you for your hard work on this. The comp plan was approved last night by the village board, so we'll be putting out the final document here. Lisa's pasting pictures in it right now and the like, but the document itself was approved with the changes to the various maps and the like as requested by the commission. And that's all I have for tonight.
Famous Dave's closed?
Famous Dave's is closed. They closed about 3 weeks ago. There's no one looking at the, or there's people looking at the site, but no potential owners or occupants. Silk Mandarin has changed ownership. It will, the name of the new restaurant I think is going to be Silk, and they're still going to operate as the same similar type menu that they were operating before. It's just new people. And then we're still waiting to hear on Dominic's. There's a couple of fairly large nibbles going on there, but we don't have any confirmation on anybody for sure at this point. So we'll see where that one goes. So far, so good. I mean, you know, the village, I mean, we're very fortunate in that we were able to fill our large boxes, and it appears that everybody, generally speaking, are doing well. As you saw, I think, in the recent Cranes article, Best Buy is closing a number of their stores. They're closing a Deerfield store. They're closing their Mundelein store. They are leaving ours open, which is very important. But again, I think it shows that our retail strength here, you know, 3.4 million square feet, you know, 30,000 cars on one road and 30,000 cars on another road, speaks volumes to retailers. So we're very fortunate to what we've had and how you all and the board have worked together to put that all together. So that's really a kudos to all of us. So, and we're going to continue to see changes over in River Tree. Old users are going to start coming out of there, and they've got people lined up to go in there. So it's really going to be kind of refreshing to see how that evolves over the next about 18 months. You have some leases that are going to expire at the end of the year that, from what I understand, may not necessarily be renewed, and some new users that are going to go in there. We have been surprised. There's been one user in particular in there whose lease was expiring, and they ran right up to the last day where they could renew it, and they ran in the door literally at 4:30, you know, and said, we're going to renew, and they did that. So that may happen, that may not, and it may be the owner's choice to refresh the space and the people that are the users that are in there. It's really beginning to evolve towards a fashion center, believe it or not. So, yeah, exactly. I'm sure we could probably find the old sign somewhere or something like that. So that is all I have now.
Anybody else? Okay. I guess the only thing we need to do is, although John said it from all of us, also to Wendy, we appreciate all the time you spent with us, though it was short. And too bad it couldn't have been longer, and wish you the best. Maybe you can be on Lake Forest Plan Commission then, and whip them into shape. Okay. Then there's nothing else. We have a standing motion to adjourn. We need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed to that? We're adjourned. Good night.
Do not.